great change is coming to the world. Change unlike anything that humanity as a whole has ever seen before. Great waves of change all converging at this time. For humanity has impacted the world in so many ways, and the results of that impact are now gathering strength, gathering force, converging at a time when humanity is largely unaware and unprepared. These great waves are not one event. They are not one simple thing that happens at one time only, for humanity has set in motion forces of change now that it must contend with on an ongoing basis. For you are now living in a world of declining resources, a world whose climate has been seriously affected, a world whose ecological condition is deteriorating, a world where humanity will have to face the prospects of great shortages of food and water and the risks of disease and illness on a very large scale, even affecting the wealthy nations of the world. The balance has now been tipped and changed, and the human family as a whole must unite and gather together to deal with these great challenges. In a world of ever-growing population and declining resources, humanity will face a great decision, a fundamental choice in which direction to go. Do nations compete and challenge each other for the remaining resources? Do they fight and struggle over who will control these resources and who will have access to these resources? For indeed, all the great wars of humanity's turbulent past have been a struggle, fundamentally, over gaining access to and control over resources. Will the wealthy nations of the world insist that their lifestyle must be preserved and therefore enter into competition and conflict with one another, further degrading the rest of the world, robbing the poorer people of the world of their own ability to sustain themselves so that some grand or indulgent lifestyle can be maintained in the wealthy nations? If humanity chooses this path, it will enter a period of prolonged conflict and permanent decline. Instead of preserving and distributing the remaining resources and generating the ability to adapt to a new world condition, humanity will destroy what is left, leaving itself poor and bereft, with immense loss of human life and with very grim and grave prospects for the future. Yet if humanity chooses a different path, recognizing the inherent dangers involved in facing these great waves of change, recognizing the seriousness of their reality and the great consequences that they can have for the well-being and for the future of humanity, then wise individuals and leaders of nations and religious institutions can recognize that divided, humanity will fail in the face of the great waves of change. But united, humanity can chart a new course, prepare for the impacts for the great waves of change, and set in course the beginnings of a greater cooperation and a greater unity than humanity as a whole has ever experienced before. This will be generated now not by religious principles or by high ethics, but by sheer necessity itself. For what can one nation hope to achieve if the world plunges into conflict and deprivation? Nations of the world are far too interdependent now to choose the path of war and conflict without bringing ruin and deprivation to everyone. United, you have a great chance. Divided, you will fail. And your failure will be long-standing, and it will be extremely costly, greater than any war that has ever occurred in this world. Will it be more devastating than any human conflict that humanity has ever known? The choices are few, but they are fundamental. And those choices must not be made simply by the leaders of nations and religious institutions, but by each citizen. Each person must choose whether they will fight and compete, whether they will resist the great waves of change, whether they will struggle with themselves and with others to maintain whatever lifestyle they're holding on to. Or will they recognize the great danger, and will they unite to begin to prepare for its impact, and to build a new and different kind of future for humanity? For you cannot maintain the way you live now. Those rich nations, those wealthy people, those people who have become accustomed to affluence, feeling it is not only a right but an entitlement from God and from life, they must be prepared to change the way they live, to live far more simply, to live far more equitably, for the sharing of the remaining resources will require this. The rich will have to take care of the poor, and the poor will have to take care of one another, or failure faces everyone, rich and poor. There will be no winners if human civilization should fail. There will be no supreme nations. There will be no supreme tribe or group or religious body if civilization fails. And the great waves of change have the power to lead human civilization to failure. That is how great they are. That is how long-reaching their impact will be. Therefore, the first great challenge facing you is to face the great challenge without insisting upon solutions, without fighting against the truth of what you know and what you see, without blaming other people or expecting someone else to take care of the problem for you. Everyone must take responsibility in how they live, in how they think, in what they do, in the decisions before them today, and in the decisions that they will have to face in the future. Everyone, particularly those of the wealthy nations, will have to reconsider where they live, how they live, what kind of employment they have, how they make a living, how they use the resources of the world, how they use energy, all of these things. It is certainly not a time to be ambivalent or complacent. It is certainly not a time to just think that government leaders should take care of the problem for you must now look to your life and to your circumstances. It is as if the bill has come due. Humanity has been spending and borrowing its natural inheritance for so long, postponing the payment of the consequences of this for so long, and now the bill has come due. Now the consequences are emerging powerfully, and there are many of them. Now you must reckon what you have created. You must reckon your condition. You must reckon your circumstances. You must reckon the world that you are creating for yourself. For humanity has squandered its natural inheritance. This abundant, magnificent world that the Creator of all life has given to humanity as its own world, has been plundered and squandered and wasted through greed, through corruption, through war and conflict, through irresponsible behavior, through unawareness and ignorance, and now the consequences are beginning to emerge. They are not simply a distant possibility or a problem for some future generation. This is the world that you have come to serve. This is the world you have created. These are the circumstances facing you now. You must face them. You must take responsibility that you have played a small part in creating them. You must accept this responsibility without shame, but the responsibility is there nonetheless. For in the face of the great waves of change, there is nowhere to run and hide. You cannot simply pack your bags and move to the country or go find someplace to hide while the storm passes over, for the storm will last a long time, and there is nowhere to hide. Only knowledge within you, the deeper intelligence that God has placed within you, will know how to deal with these circumstances and with the immense change that is coming for humanity. Only this deeper knowledge, this sacred knowledge, will know how to navigate the difficult times ahead, will know how to sail the troubled waters, for troubled waters there will be. Perhaps you are accustomed to being untroubled by the greater problems of the world. Perhaps you have insulated yourself sufficiently where they seem to be distant, where they do not seem to be a problem for you. They seem to be someone else's problem, a problem in another country, a problem that other people have to face and deal with. But such insulation now is over. It is not possible that you will not be greatly impacted by the great waves of change. It is not possible that they will not change your circumstances, perhaps even dramatically. In essence, you cannot change what is coming now, but you can prepare for it. You can adapt to it. You can use it to contribute to the well-being of people, for this indeed is why you have come to the world. At a greater level, beyond your thoughts and beliefs, is the truth that you have come into the world for a mission, that you are here for a purpose, and that God has sent you into the world to serve the world, under the very circumstances that are approaching you now. Therefore, while in your mind you may respond with great fear or trepidation, With anger and indignation you may be immensely confused and perplexed. You may feel helpless and impotent in the face of such great challenges, but deeper within you, at the level of knowledge, this indeed is your time. This is the time when the great calling will sound for you. This is the time when your greater gifts will come forward, for you yourself cannot bring them forward. They must be called out of you. And the calling must come from the world, for you cannot call yourself if the calling is to be genuine. You cannot initiate yourself into a greater life. For the calling must come from beyond you, calling your gifts out of you, calling you into a greater state of mind and awareness, and into a greater position of responsibility. Without this calling, you will simply either go into denial and try to forget and remain ignorant and foolish, or you will fight and struggle to preserve whatever entitlements you feel you have or that are still due to you. You will act out of fear and anger. You will lash out at others. You will be immensely afraid and incredibly confused. You will believe that something will save you, that there is a solution on the horizon that will make all these problems go away. You will not see and you will not know and you will not prepare. And when the great waves come, you will be unprepared, and you will be vulnerable. Surely, you have seen that nature is unmerciful to the unprepared. Nature shows no mercy to those who are not prepared for eventualities. God wishes to save you failure, conflict and discord. That is why knowledge has been placed within you. God knows what is coming for humanity. But people remain blind and foolish and self-indulgent. God knows that if you do not prepare, if you do not become strong with knowledge, if you do not allow your gifts to be called out of you, if you cling to an old life, an old set of ideas and assumptions, then you will fail. And your failure will be terrible. Yet knowledge within you is ready to respond. It is not afraid of the great waves. In fact, it has been prepared for them all along, for this is your destiny. You did not come into the world simply to be a consumer, simply to occupy space, simply to further degrade the world, and to use up its resources. That is not what has brought you here, and in your heart you know this to be true. But what you know to be true and what you think are not yet the same. And you must then align yourself with knowledge and learn the way of knowledge and take the steps to knowledge so that it becomes your guide and counsel. You will need this inner certainty, for around you there will be confusion, anger and conflict as people are deprived, as people feel threatened, as the security of people everywhere becomes challenged. You will see individuals and groups reacting with rage and indignation. You will see nations threatening one another, and this is already happening. And the great conflicts that will emerge and the great danger of war will all be masked by politics and religion, when in fact the conflict is over resources. Who will have these resources? Who will control these resources? Such conflicts have already begun and are well underway. And the prospect for greater conflicts, for greater wars, is growing with each passing day. There is already fire burning in the world, and the embers for greater fires of conflict are being stoked, and the conditions are ripe for their emergence. Surely, if you want to be protected and to benefit from the great change that is coming, you cannot remain in your current position, your current way of thinking, your current assumptions. There must be a profound shift within you, and this shift will be brought about both by the conditions of the world and by the emergence of knowledge within you. You cannot stay where you are mentally, psychologically and emotionally and have any real hope of surviving and benefiting from the great change that is coming. This is the great warning that the new message is presenting. The great waves of change are coming to the world, and humanity is now facing competition from beyond the world, intervention from races beyond the world who seek to take advantage of a weak and divided humanity, who seek to benefit from the decline of human civilization,